Thank you so much. Welcome. I am glad you're here. My name is Ryan Allen, and welcome to our first episode of Dosh's Eye on Safety. And today, in our first episode, we're going to talk about record keeping and reporting. Okay, now I know it's not the funnest topic in the world, and it is paperwork. And you know what? It's the law. But you know what? It's more than a law. It's a tool. It's one tool of many that we can use to help prevent injuries in the future. Okay, and that's why we're here. Okay. When you report these accidents, when you record them, it gives you an opportunity to spot trends. It helps you identify and look at problem areas in your work that you can go there, find things, correct them, and prevent people from getting hurt, okay? And we got some great people here today to talk about that. We have Dosh's Terry Neely here, all right? Welcome, Terry. Thank you for coming down and taking time out of your schedule. We also have a business owner here, Lowell Gordon, of the Creative Office in Olympia, Washington, here to spend some time with us. And so we got two great perspectives to talk about OSHA record keeping and reporting and really get us an opportunity to understand this subject and see just how easy it is and how simple it is to do a few extra steps, a few things here and there to document, to record, to understand our injuries so that we can make our workplace safer. Okay, it's not hard, it's just a few things, and I really look forward to spending time with Terry and Lowell today to help you out with that. And right after these messages, we're going to get started on a great show. Thank you.
The Division of Occupational Safety and Health is very similar to what the Federal Occupational Safety and Health. We are the safety and health regulator in the state of Washington.
I think that the OSHA log is really important information. It is a lagging indicator. It's a picture of what your past has been.
It helps them basically identify any trends in their work environment that may help them evaluate their accident prevention program, address the hazards, and correct those things so that it doesn't happen in the future.
The reality is it's just a snapshot in time of what your performance has been. It's not a perfect picture of what your performance is presently.
The more we know about them, the more we can properly address it so that we don't have something that exceeds a near miss and actually steps into a severe injury or even worse, a fatality. You know, that's the worst case scenario for us, is to lose somebody within our community. So
the other thing that we see is people get really confused over how many days to log or where to log those days or how you might actually put something on a log. And if you take it down to the most simplistic form, it's actually a fairly easy process.
What the regulations state is that you count calendar days, and so that includes weekends, that includes holidays, that includes any kind of scheduled days off. So even if your worker was not scheduled to work any time during that period of missed work, you need to go ahead and count that. So basically take a calendar of 365 days, assume that worker is scheduled to work all those days, and just count up the days between the missed work and the return to work period.
Now, with the record keeping requirements, there are a couple of exemptions where the employer, if they have 10 or fewer employees throughout or during an entire previous calendar year, then they don't have to keep records.
Well, that's good news, I suppose. It means I don't have to file anything. If your company had 10 or fewer employees at all times during the last calendar year, you do not need to keep injury and illness records in writing.
So another thing that we see commonly is folks getting confused between record keeping and what goes on your OSHA 300 log versus reporting. So record keeping is a function of basically just that, recording records, keeping stuff on paper and making sure to be able to refer back to incidents in the past. However, you do have instances in Washington State where you are required to report something.
Employers are required to report within 8 hours of any work-related event that results in the fatality or inpatient hospitalization of any employee. Employers are also required to report within 24 hours any work-related event that results in the amputation or the loss of an eye.
if I have a fatality or an inpatient hospitalization as a result of one of those work-related injuries or illnesses, I believe for those two, it's an 8-hour turnaround on reporting versus a 24-hour turnaround on reporting for amputation or loss of an eye.
All employers must report any work-related incident, fatality, inpatient hospitalization, amputation, or the loss of an eye.
Welcome back if you're still here, and welcome back to Dosh's Eye on Safety. As promised, I'm here with Terry Neely of Dosh. Thank you for taking some time to spend with us today to talk about this OSHA record keeping and reporting. So exciting. Now, I know it's the law, all right? I hear it all the time. It's the law, you know? So tell me, why? Why is it so important with this record keeping? Why is it more than just the law?
Well, for employers, when you do record keeping, you can keep track of injury and illness trends that are happening in your workplace. So you can see if it is an issue for training. You can see if it's maybe a guarding issue for a piece of equipment. Where things are occurring, you can do prevention. And then in return, that'll reduce workers' comp costs.
See, now I like saving money, so you piqued my interest right there. So who does it? Do I have to do it? Does my neighbor have to do it? Who's responsible for doing this OSHA record keeping?
Well, the code indicates that certain employers in certain industries with 11 or more employees has to record. And you need to go to the rule to chapter 27, and there is a table in there that talks about what industries are involved and what industries are exempt. So you should check that before you start.
Great, thanks for that information, Terry. Now, something that really confuses me, and I would love your clarification on, is we talk about recordable and injury and all this. Now, the state of Washington, L&I, you guys do the claims. You have all that claims information. Isn't that the same thing, the recordable, the claims? I mean, what's the difference here?
Actually, it's two very different functions. OSHA record keeping is a way to track injury and illness data uniformly nationwide, whereas workers' comp laws vary from state to state. Okay.
So my recordable doesn't mean it's necessarily a claim, or my claim's not necessarily a recordable the time.
That's true. That's true. What comes to my mind is maybe what we would call a first aid case. So you have an employee who gets injured, they go to the doctor, and say they cut their finger, but all they required was a Band-Aid. That's considered first aid. First aid cases are not recordable for OSHA record keeping purposes. However, it would be a claim because they'd have to pay for the doctor's visit.
Okay, thank you very much. So this record keeping, all these forms, I hear 300 log and 300A and all this stuff. What is all this? What's all entailed in this record keeping?
Well, there are 3 forms. And you can find those on our website. You can fill it out online, or you can print a copy and you can fill it out by hand, whatever you choose to do. The first form that we refer to is the 301, which is an incident report form. So if something has happened at work, there was an injury, an illness, then it needs to be documented on the 301. Once you determine whether or not that case is recordable, it would then go on to the form 300, which is the log, where you will track all your injuries and illnesses. And then at the end of the year, you take the totals from that log and you transfer them to the 300A, which is the summary. And then you post that summary where your employees can see it and be part of it. And you post it from February 1st through April 30th.
So I'm required to use the OSHA 300 log, the 301 to record an injury, and the 300A summary? Mm-hmm. Okay. And now, do I have to use those forms, or
You can use alternative forms. You can use something that you have that you're using internally. You can use a report of accident for workers' comp claims. We'll substitute for the 301, the incident report form. The only thing that is required is that if you're using internal forms, they must capture exactly the same data as the forms that we provide.
So probably a good idea to go check out that form anyways to make sure I'm recording the right stuff, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so, I feel like making a cheat sheet with all this stuff so I can put all this 24-hour, 8-hour, use this form, this data, that data. There's a lot of stuff. So speaking of that, how do I know something's recordable? I mean, is there some kind of process I can use or something? What's recordable, what's not? How do I know as an employer?
Well, what you need to look at first is you need to find out, is the case work-related? Was that employee engaged in activities for the employer? So you find out that it's work-related, and then you're going to see, is it a new case? Has this happened before? Has it not happened before? If that employee has had that situation or that injury or illness occurred before. If it is completely healed and it happened again, then it is recordable.
You know what? I think we got some clips that'll help us identify that out, and I think once we get back from these messages, we're going to take them out, check them out, all right? Let's do that.
I see that.
Welcome and congratulations. You are now only 5 steps away on your journey to understanding the process for determining injury and illness recordability. Step 1. Did the employee suffer an injury or illness? Affirmation is key. Yes allows you to move forward. Step 2. Is the injury or illness work-related? Indeed. Step 3. Is the injury or illness a new case? If all signs point to yes, you may proceed. Step 4. Is the injury or illness serious according to the general recording criteria? Yes. Step 5. Record the case on the OSHA 300 log. Your journey is now complete.
To Dosh's Eye on Safety. Still here with Terry Neely. Terry, so we have a few clips here to look at, a few scenarios that we want to run through and to try and determine, is this a recordable injury or not?
Great.
All right, so let's start with the first one. All right, eating lunch at work. Is this recordable or not recordable?
No, it is not recordable when it's employee eating their brown bag lunch. They need to be engaged in activities for the employer. So say this was a situation where it was a mandatory meeting and the employer provided lunch, then it would indeed be recordable, provided that medical treatment ensued following the choking incident.
All right, thanks for that clarification, Terry. Let's go ahead and get to our second clip here. All right, in this instance, do we have a recordable injury or not a recordable injury?
Yes, you do. Loss of consciousness is a recordable incident that goes on your log. However, if it's due to pregnancy or diabetes or something not related to the workplace, it is not recordable.
Oh, great information. Thank you, Terry. And let's check out our final clip here. All right, in this situation, do we have a recordable injury or not a recordable injury?
You do, and this involves a needle stick, and so it's kind of a two-part step. You're first going to record it on your log as an injury. Sometimes, though, needles are involved or may have potentially infectious materials on them, and so it could lead to a bloodborne illness. So your employee will need to be tested, and if later you do find out that your employee has a bloodborne disease based on that needle stick, then you would go back to your log and you would change it from injury to illness.
All right, thanks a lot, Terry. And thank you, Ernesto and Allie, for acting for us. So you did a great job. Next is Lowell Gordon. Stay tuned, all right? Come back after these messages.
The Labor and Industries website is a combination of all the activities that we do at L&I. For instance, if you are a roofing company and you have a question about fall protection rules and regulations, you can get that information from that website. Our webpage specifically gives you different areas where either you can get self-help or that someone can come out to your place of employment and provide you services there. I think it's important for the public to know that the website is there for you. It is the first source of information that they should really go to find out the latest safety and health information occurring within the state of Washington.
Welcome Welcome back to Dasha's Eye on Safety, here with Lowell Gordon, as promised, owner of the creative office here in Olympia, Washington. Welcome, and thanks for spending time with us today.
Well, thanks, Ryan. Great to be here.
All right, so, man, Lowell, that's a lot of information. What's going through your head, man? That's a lot of information.
These 300 forms, the 400 forms, the 301 forms. What do they all mean? I'm just a small little business owner.
I understand. And so, speaking of that, there's all these forms. It's the law, it's this, it's that. What would help you as a business owner?
Well, part of it is as a small business owner, we're so busy just trying to make our business succeed, and we're focusing, in my business, it's in sales. Am I going to have the sales that I need each month? The last thing that I think of is, abiding by all the rules and regulations that, L&I puts out there for me. However, I know I need to. And so the next question is how do I find out what's required to me as a business owner? And I know you can go to the L&I website and get information there. But quite honestly, as I said earlier, we get so busy. How do you have the time to do that? And for me, I'm a part of the Washington Retailers Association because we are a retailer. And they have somebody on staff there that I've gone to, for help. And one of the things, and I hate to admit it, Ryan and Terry, but we have had some injuries. They've been minor, but we have had them. And the biggest fear is, oh no, is the L&I police going to come after me? And am I going to be in big trouble? So where do I get information? That's the question. So Washington Retail Association, with their one of their employees, Rick, he's set us up to where we now show quarterly videos on safety. I put together a safety committee within my organization, and I mix it up with people on staff that are work in different parts of my company, so that once a quarter we can watch a videotape that has something that relates to our business in some way. And many of the videotapes that L&I provides for us to watch, they're pretty funny. But I know you do that to make it interesting.
Like this show, right?
Exactly.
We're funny.
And that's where we stay in compliance, number one, by holding our quarterly safety meetings. We document that. We have a notebook that the safety committee has put together to document, everyone that's there and what we talked about. And we do everything we can to prevent injuries. But when it comes to the paperwork and reporting, I got to tell you, I hate to say we fly by the seat of our pants sometimes, but that's what we do.
Everybody loves paperwork, right? That's why you got into business, to do paperwork, right?
Absolutely.
And like you said, you get busy with this thing called work, right? That you get up and do every day, where you actually have to work and make money and make a living. And I understand it can get difficult. So you mentioned you use Dasha's library to get information and videos and other things. What would you expect out of Dash as a small employer in reference to record keeping and reporting and assistance in that?
As I said earlier, an easy place to go to get information when we need it, and a way to find it very easily. But sometimes you don't know what you're looking for, and that's one of the biggest challenges. We don't know that there's forms that need to be filled out. Sadly, you find out about them after the injury or down the road, but sometimes we need some direction, but it has to be done in a very simple way that we don't have time to read pages and pages and pages of information on what's required of us. So if Dasha can keep it simple and make it readily available, and having events like this here, shows like this to bring out information. I've learned a lot here today. I hate to say I was eavesdropping, but I was listening and knowing what is required of me as a business owner.
Well, for you, what we'll do is we'll just give you Terry's direct line so you can use her as a resource. Thank you so much for being here. Don't go anywhere, because we are going to be back after these messages for some final thoughts, all right? Stay tuned, all right? We'll be back.
Oh no, Vince has been knocked unconscious, and now that he has been taken care of at the hospital, should I record and report this? Good thing I just took Dosh's e-lesson on record keeping and reporting. In just a few minutes, I learned how to determine the recordability and reportability of a workplace injury or illness. They even gave me a 5-step process to help me assess the incident. I'm glad I regularly visit ionsafety.info.
Welcome back to Dawson's Eye on Safety. I'm glad you're still here. And trust me, it paid off because we're just about at the end here. Lowell, thank you so much for coming. I mean, I know I have learned so much today. It's amazing. How about yourself?
Well, you know, one of the things I've learned over the years is that L&I really has been easy to work with. Unfortunately, we haven't had to go use your services very often because we haven't had a lot of injuries. But you know, after being here today and knowing that there's a place I can go to get information and where I can get answers to my questions, because as a small business owner, I don't have that human resource, you know, person that specializes on where to find all this information and what are our requirements. What do we have to do as a small business? And so just making the information readily available to us, making it easy to find is a huge help for us.
I'm glad you were here to find that then. Terry, do you have anything?
I do. I'm really glad that you've used L&I services. It's good to know that you know about that. A lot of people don't know that L&I offers free, confidential safety and health, ergonomic, and risk management services. And they can call in and you can have somebody come into your business and look at your safety programs and make sure they're up to par. They could even look at your OSHA 300 log and make sure you're recording appropriately. Ergonomists can come in and look at strains and issues that you may have and if you need to change that. And we have risk management services where they can come in and take a look at your claims. They can project your future, how to help you lower those claims costs, and have some prevention services in the future.
So one question I do have, Ryan and Terry, you call it a 300 log.
Yes.
Does that mean there's 299 other logs that I have to be aware of?
No.
Not that I'm aware of.
I hope not.
That's another show.
Thanks, Lowell. Thank you, Terry, for that information. And thank you all for coming and watching the show. You made it to the end. Thank you so much. I hope you learned something. Let's remember to be safe. Let's keep our fingers, keep our toes. That's our show, and we're done, and I'm out of here. Yay!